Sorry, this one gets me every time. It's a sad story. Well, welcome back to Heroes for Hire Comic Club channel. Welcome to episode 4 of Comic Conversations, where I interview another YouTube comic book creator. And as you can see, I even trimmed my beard for this next guest. Very special guest. But before we introduce him, I do want to say I have 180 subscribers. I'm closing in on 200. And when I get to 200, if we get there this Sunday for the Heroes for Hire Comic Club Sunday Super Show Extravaganza, I will be giving away Red Room 1 and 2 by Ed Piskor, one of my favorite cartoonists, and was one of my favorite YouTubers before he passed away. So just get in there, and I'll be giving these away to when we get to 200 subscribers. So everybody, please stay tuned for that. And without any further ado, he is the Tower of Power. He's too sweet to be sour. All the way from the great state of Georgia, my friend and your friend, Legion of Comics.
The Tower of Power has arrived. That's me.
Yeah, I have to give the Dusty Rhodes intro to my guest.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it.
Feel it. Gets the people going.
It gets the people going. That was sweet. That was too sweet.
I was either going to say that or he's wined and dined with kings and queens, and he's dined on pork and beans. But, we're going to say hello to the chat here. He showed up first comment at 3:36 p.m. DJ Links was on point. Look here. It says hashtag We Are Legion. And we got Nerdy Geek. He's saying hello to everyone. Say hello. Okay, Nerdy Geek. Brother John. And okay, you've been in here. All right. He's omnipresent, as Chris would say. And Missing Mars. Hey, Missing Mars, how you doing? Okay. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Like I said, we just do I just talk about why you got into doing the YouTube thing, why you got into how you got into comic books, or why the reasons and stuff like that. So, I guess start off with a pretty easy. I don't know. This might not be an easy question, but when did you get into reading and collecting comic books, and what attracted you to it? You know,
I was born into this. My dad's a collector. He's been collecting since the early 60s, since he was a kid, nonstop. So I was just born and raised around it. Can't remember I don't have a single memory where there weren't comics in the house, just around or in my room, and grew up going to the comic shop, and it was my first job. It was just a part of my life. I've never not collected comics in some form or fashion. I haven't always been a Wednesday warrior parts of my life where I just pick up trade collections and stuff like that and just read that way. But it was just always a part of my life, thanks to my dad.
Yeah. Well, I was like that. Well, my dad would bring me comic books back when they'd go in the summer for National Guard. So he'd go to PX at like Fort Knox or wherever. Mm-hmm. And he would bring back a bunch of like Charlton Fighting Marines and G.I. Joe and Star Wars, and even Little Devil. Remember Little Devil? Mm-hmm. And I guess he thought I was a little devil. I don't know.
But a cautionary tale.
Yeah, maybe so. But I didn't always, like you said, the Wednesday warrior. I like the way you put that. I wasn't always like that. But I always had them around. I mean, nobody was really a big collector, but my stepfather, he was kind of a collector. He restored like old Corvettes and collected like, car memorabilia, NASCAR memorabilia and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got into it. And I guess G.I. Joe was kind of the G.I. Joe Real American Hero was kind of my gateway.
That was your gateway drug. I was about to say that.
And also like a follow-up is like, do you recall like the first time, like, I can recall like going to the 7-Eleven down the block from my mom's gift shop with my own money that I had, like allowance money, and looking on the spinner rack and seeing like Amazing Spider-Man 322. I didn't know it was Todd McFarlane at the time, but it was the first. I bought that. I just said I got to get that, and then I had to go back and get the other ones before, because it was like a 6-part story. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know. I guess you didn't have that because it was always around you like that.
Yeah, when I say I grew up in this, I mean like I literally grew up in this. Going to the LCS as a baby, the same LCS I go to now, the same LCS my kids went to as a baby, and now they run around in now.
Awesome.
They're just 100% always around me. I had comics in my room that were mine that I brought home from the comic shop that I don't even remember bringing home from the comic shop because I was too little. You just you see when you like, you pick it up, and your parent pays for it as you're going out, kind of thing. Just I have no first memory of comic books. They were just always there. That's like saying, do you remember your first pair of underwear? No, I just don't remember a time when I didn't wear them.
Well, yeah, I guess I could see that. It's kind of like this may be a weird example, but like for instance, Dale Earnhardt Jr. He was always around car racing, or Cody Rhodes was always around
I
wrestling.
was around wrestling.
So so
there wasn't a time for your lifetime without him.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. But I've got like definitive like core memories with comics as a kid and everything. I remember cutting my teeth reading on comic books. I remember me and my brother going out to the comic room out back and pulling like complete little series out of my dad's PC to read and put them back. I remember like Army crawling through the hallway for no good reason. There was no parents back there, but to his Conan books that were next to his bed or kept in a box in his closet because they had like the Frazetta risque scandally clad stuff like that. There's no like harsh nudity or anything in them like that, but he kept those like separate away from the stuff that me and my brother would get into.
Oh yeah.
I think my biggest first memory with comic books though, every time I go to this, it's the Marvel versus DC event where you actually went into your local comic shop, were given a voting card, and you voted on who you wanted to win. I remember how big of a deal that was. And I remember even back then when I was a kid arguing with other adults that were at the counter voting on how bad their choices of who they were picking were and why they were wrong.
I remember calling in that hotline when they were like,
kill Jason Todd.
Or do we not? And I did vote to kill him, but you know what? On the positive note, they did kill him off, but we got another great character out of it, right?
Got him back. Yeah, he's the most interesting ward that Batman's had now because of it.
Yeah, I agree. And also like I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but there's like that special feeling when there was like an event coming out, and you're like Crisis on Infinite Earths or Secret Wars. You're like, I got to find out what happens. It's just I remember that. And I guess sometimes I don't know what you think of that, but I think we have rose-colored glasses sometimes when we look back at that stuff, but I still think it was brilliant. I'm a big fan of George Perez. So
I don't know. Sometimes I'm sure we do, but there's times where we're definitely not looking back with rose-colored glasses. Crisis on Infinite Earths is the greatest comic event that's happened to this day. And I mean, it's 40 years ago now. And I was working, my first job ever while I was still in high school was at my comic shop at the Augusta Book Exchange. And I was working there in 2006 when Jeff Johns and Jim Lee did Infinite Crisis. And to this day, that's my favorite event book. And I can remember getting out of school and rushing to work because I knew that the next issue was there. And like the first thing I would do was just walk in the door, wouldn't even like put my stuff down, go straight to the book and grab it and just read it standing there because I needed to know so bad what was going to happen next. And then the excitement, the working on Thursday of all the customers that would come back in after having read it and getting to discuss it with them and throwing theories out there and trying to figure out what's to come of all of this. It's a experience. That's what keeps us coming back, kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's like with this right here, like I had this up earlier. Mm-hmm. The one thing that was great about this was there were real stakes involved. Like Supergirl died. Barry Allen died.
Same thing for Infinite Crisis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And okay, well, this kind of piggybacks since you're talking about that. This kind of segues into the next question, which is what are some of your favorite comic book series of all time?
Series or just ones that stand out?
It don't have to be like a mini series. It could just be
Marvel versus DC. Marvel versus DC as a whole was one of the most enjoyable things ever. Because again, as a kid, that was like crack. I mean, I was the target audience for that. Like I reread it to this day. It stays on the shelf behind me with a copy of it, and I even take all of the, what do you call it, the amalgam books. I take those with me to cons to get people to sign still. I absolutely love those books. Taking your favorite heroes and mushing them together from these two separate publishers. That was crazy cool. Cool. Absolutely love that.
And what was also cool was like with the DC versus Marvel it was like, we always as fans had debated, well, who would win between Superman and Thor? Could Hulk beat Wonder Woman or whoever? Could the Teen Titans match up with the X-Men? So it was interesting, but You
And the
know,
way that they did it, the debate can still go on because it was ultimately a cop out done by
yeah,
votes and everything. And
yeah,
that's one thing I'm excited about with the upcoming amalgam omnibus that keeps getting delayed. I'm not an omnibus collector, but I ordered that one because it's supposed to have the alternate wins in it. So apparently they drew the both conclusions. You know, they drew the ending where Hulk beat Superman and the ending where Superman beat Hulk, and they're going to include those alternate endings in there. And I think that that's going to be awesome. That'll be the first time getting to read that. I do have that exact book signed by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez,
awesome.
but Ron Mars wasn't there.
And well, you know, also there was that funny. I kind of get off on side quest here, but you have to.
Oh, no, let's
I
quest.
was reading about Jim Shooter and like I can't remember the editor at DC were like it looked like it wasn't going to happen for a while because they're like, no, I can't let the Avengers look weak, and then he about no, I can't let the Justice League look weak. So you know,
Yeah, that's under the Justice League of America Avengers crossover era. That's when they started to do it, and they actually put a stop to it because Jim Shooter was keeping things real tight. Jim Shooter caught a lot of flack, but he's a legend for what he did. But we got that Titans X-Men crossover in that era, and the the book where Superman's holding the hammer, Thor's hammer and Cap's shield on issue 4. That's the book that ultimately was made after the Jim Shooter pausing of everything.
We got Brother John saying, now I just need a Kingdom Come signed by Wade and Ross. Oh,
yeah, me and Brother John agree heavily on a lot of things, and Kingdom Come for me is the greatest comic ever told. And here's the Kingdom Come preview signed by Alex Ross and Mark Waid.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome. Okay, this may be I don't know. A lot of the previous guests have thought this was a tough question to answer, but I don't know. I have a feeling you'll be pretty good at it. It's not like a Barbara Walters gotcha journalism question or anything like that.
I prefer the gotcha questions.
I'm sorry, I don't have any because I'm too nice a guy, I guess. What's your favorite? Okay, no. Why did you decide to start a YouTube channel?
That's super easy. I was just coming here to find more people to talk to. That feeling that I told you that I would have, how I enjoyed going to work on a Thursday because everyone shows up to pick their books up on Wednesday, and a lot of people come back on Thursday just to window shop or to knock around. In all reality, they're coming back for the camaraderie of the hobby. They're coming back to see who you're going to run into in the store. I can't tell you how many times in a month I go up to Augusta Book Exchange or ABX and just go there and sit at the table, just at the table, talk to whoever comes in and stuff. It's that comic shop feel. And that's one thing that I don't have like a lot of people here that are reading comics that I talk to or go hang out with, and found that on YouTube. I eventually found the Comic Tropes YouTube channel, was watching that for a while every now and then. Some of those videos just breaking down artists and talking about comic history and all that, which I absolutely love. And then I found a channel called the Comic Jabroni, Edwin, who is doing content much like what we do, the hangout streams, the talking about new books, stuff like that. And I was in one of his live chats, and he was a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. And I asked him about if he picked up the Power Ranger books, and he suggested I check out Burke Family 54 channels. And I went and watched Steve's channel and watched Steve's channel weekly. And eventually Steve pushed me just to start posting some videos of some of the stuff that I would be talking about in the chat that I was picking up and this and that. And because of Steve, it kind of just bridged that community to actually making content connection.
And well, see, that's kind of the same thing here. There's not a lot of people around here. My closest friend is in the comics, but he lives in Cincinnati. It's about 3 hours from me, and so there's nobody I can just. And it's actually a funny story. I was watching Once Funny Comics, and I started watching Comic Tropes. Actually, I just watched a video he did about Mike Zeck recently, and because he's one of my favorite artists. But there's no really to talk to about it. So when I got something, I didn't have nobody to share it. Like, hey, look what I got today, you know. Where I'm disabled too, so I don't get out a lot. I can still walk around and stuff, but where I have MD, it's hard for me to get out and just, do stuff. So when I talk about comics, I don't even have a local comic shop because I live in the middle of the mountains somewhere. But it's just it's a good way to come together about it. I think it's a great community, which I don't know. I met Cheap Comic Collector. He bought some books from me on Whatnot when I used to sell on there. And I was watching one of his streams one night, and those guys, and Aaron too, shout out to him. It was his show. And he was talking. I said, wait a minute, that name looks familiar, because he had the same name on Whatnot. I sold him. I typed in the chat. I said, hey, are you the guy that bought some comic? You bought some Spirit comic books off of me tonight? He said, yeah, I got it right here. He started showing them. And I was like, I felt like I was on TV. I said, hey, Mom. Because I stared at my mom.
Look at this.
Like, yeah. They're showing the books I sold him. So then they kind of gave me I was like, I kept putting it off because I wanted to start one, but I was like, well, I don't know how to edit like comic tropes, I don't have, but it was excuses, right? I just said, finally, I'm through with the excuses. Let's do this. And
yeah, I never had that big build up or anything. I'm just like, all right. And I had a good buddy that has lived here. We've been good friends since the very beginning of elementary school. And we work and everything and got the kids, so it isn't like we would hang out every day or anything like that. But he was always here, and then he moved to Savannah, Charleston. He moved to Charleston. He got a job at the hospital there. So when he moved, me and him, when I started the YouTube thing, he was on with me like as co-hosting for the first few. But then life just gets busy, going to a new job and everything, and just kind of fell out. I mean, we're still best friends, but he just fell out of the YouTube thing, wasn't?
Oh yeah.
Long haul. Yeah, I talk to him every day still.
And I guess that's kind of the follow up, but we already kind of answered it. What do you like most about having a YouTube channel about comic books?
Oh, just getting to chat with people, getting to argue with people. I love arguing.
Yeah. Well, it's also cool to see other people's perspective on things. Like,
I don't think so. I don't need it. I'm just
and but like I was kind of fell out of DC for a little while, but I'll give props to you. You got me back into it. So, I like it. I just was getting more other stuff, from Image and Marvel before. But then I started, you know what? I need to get back, because I've been in the DC, and then I go through these phases, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I kind of dropped off for a minute. And well, also the thing is, I'll warn other people about this. Is like, don't let other people's opinions influence what you buy or collect.
Well, there's also that thing, you don't have to choose one or the other. Like I absolutely
I don't understand that either.
I never love the Incredible Hulk. Like he's like my all-time favorite. Since I was a kid. But like Superman is right there with him. Like as I've gotten older, there like every day, it's like my love for this character just grows exponentially. Like I absolutely love Superman.
I've been getting back into it.
He brings a different thing to the table. It's just that the Hulk doesn't have, kind of thing. Those characters couldn't be more different if they tried. So there's no reason that you can't like both, kind of thing. And a lot of people mistake me as someone who just dislikes Marvel, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. I absolutely love the Marvel characters. Yeah, like I absolutely love the Marvel characters. Have my entire life. I just don't enjoy current Marvel comics, and I don't think there's anything unusual about that. Companies have their ups and downs. DC was riding high for a while, and then you get into the campy 60s, and Marvel starts doing their thing with Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and X-Men and all that. And there's a huge shift, you know what I mean? So there's ebbs and flows to everything. And for me,
and like Image used to be the top dog there for a while, the nice, where everything at the bottom fell out. And I guess
it's one of the big three now, really, though, because they're doing
they're not the redheaded stepchild no more. There's no way. And but like the beauty thing about Superman is I remember reading Man of Steel by John Byrne, and I just I'm recollecting.
Yeah, I was going to say, you just got that, right?
Yeah, I've been recollecting because, well, about, I guess it's 20 years ago now. God, I don't feel like it was that long ago. Well, no, it might have been 18 years ago. I had an apartment not far from here, actually, and some people broke in and stole. Like I had Spawn 1 through 150.
You almost had the gunslinger ones, almost.
Oh yeah, I was like, and I had like all the uncanny,
just short, as most people did.
I had all the Jim Lee Uncanny X-Men, had all the Austin, and Alan Davis runs, most of the John Romita stuff. I had all the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man Amazing and Spider-Man, because I was a big Todd McFarlane head. And so it was just like, that's it, I'm done. I mean, I can't get it all back, and it was just like I fell out for a while, and then I feel like I'm making this more about me than you, but I'm sorry. I'll just get real quick through it. My uncle, he's not my uncle by blood, but I always called him my uncle. Was
Mhm.
my step dad's best friend since they were children, and he was in the comic book industry in a small way. He was like a colorist for at some place in like Dayton, Ohio. So it's not like the big two or anything, but it was like he had all these comic books like Bernie Wrights and Richard Corbin.
I love me
And
some Richard Corbin and some Wrightson.
yeah, and all those hardcover editions they have, with the 4-book hardcovers of EC Comics. And it was all collecting dust in the basement because he passed away before my stepdad passed away. And my mom said, "You need to do something about this stuff. We can't have it in here. Either sell it or do something with it." And it got me back into it. It was during COVID. And it was just, and then it got me my love of it. I saved a lot of it because it means a lot. It came from him. But I did get rid of some of it because my mom kind of has a thing against like a lot of like horror comic stuff. I don't want this stuff in my house. So I kind of respect that, I guess. But it also got me back into and you look at it this way, maybe I did sell it, some of it, but it goes out to other people that will enjoy it instead of it being stuck in a basement somewhere. I don't know. I'm trying to. I just wanted to tell
I'm
that
with Brother John. Yeah. Your stories are new to me. I've heard my stories before.
Well, I just wanted to like explain.
Oh yeah, you're good.
I know John's just kidding anyway, but
no, he's not kidding. He would most definitely rather hear about you than me. I promise.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, it's all good. We'll try.
Yeah, we can keep this. Yeah.
How about we do a little bit of both? Okay. Here's another one, and I'll give you some of mine after you answer it. So, what are some of your favorite artists and writers of all time in comic books?
Alex Ross, for sure, is one of my goats. And that's because Kingdom Come means so much to me. It's like I said, it's the greatest comic story ever told. I remember being in 3rd grade when that came out. Like I've read it. I can't even tell you how many times I read it. I've done book reports on it in school. I've done curriculum fair projects on it. It means more to me than any other comic out there. Alex Ross's art changed my life when I saw that. I never knew these superheroes can be taken that serious or be real. And they were real. They were real to me. When I looked at his art, I'm like, that's what these characters look like in real life. And that absolutely changed the game for me. Favorite writers, man, they change, like change my socks. It just really depends on, and this is a cop-out answer, kind of like a Stan Lee answer would give you, but it's kind of like what I'm reading and loving right now kind of thing is always going to stand out. Jeff Johns, in my opinion, is the greatest like modern comic writer of this entire lifetime, my lifetime. You'd have to go back before, you have to go back before my lifetime to get to somebody who's been more influential and has done more important things and like wrote like game-changing stories than Jeff Johns. He's a god tier writer, and other people that's what they're trying to live up to. The people getting into the industry now, modern folks, I would say Jeremy Adams is like my most excitable up and comer that I look forward to. He's crushing it. He's on the Jeff Johns fast track, is what Sector 2815 would say. He's written Flash. He's on Green Lantern right now, and he's about to start Aquaman, which thank God Aquaman is finally coming back to ongoing after years. But the standard ones that you'd hear countless people say they're mine too. The Jack Kirby's and stuff like that. I'm very generic in that kind of sense. I'm in love with the characters in these books over the creators of these books.
Yeah. I'd also put Daniel. Right. I don't know that he's that new, but Daniel Warren Johnson I would put in that league too.
I've been on D-Dubs for years. So then Brother John and Brother John's awesome. But when I got on YouTube, one of the first things I was telling people to check out was Murder Falcon, which is one of Daniel Warren Johnson's creator owned. He wrote it, he illustrated it. I think Mike Spicer did the colors, and I absolutely loved it. I didn't know who Daniel Warren Johnson was because he hadn't done really anything else at that time. He had like Space Mullet that he did, but he didn't have a catalog like he has now. So I took my copy of Murder Falcon and I sent it to somebody. I think I sent it to Digger Jim. and he read it, and then he sent it to Chip Getler. Then Chip Getler sent it to Brother John. Then Brother John sent it to Circumstances, who sent it to Comic Viking. But what's great is through this book traveling, it's gone to Heroes Con twice.
Awesome.
And through this book traveling, it's been signed by Daniel Warren Johnson twice, and it's been remarked on the inside cover now. And so that's such a fantastic book, a fantastic story, and testament to what's so great about getting into this community. And like you really do find unique things like that end up happening. But Daniel Warren Johnson is a must. I was telling people that they had to read it, and I was willing to send them my copy to do it.
Yeah, well, he blew me away too with do a power bomb. And,
yeah, that's when he popped. That's when everyone finally figured it out.
When people started really like, if I was to name some, it would be. Most of the people that know me already know this, but and like when you're a kid, sometimes you really not. Some of us, I didn't really pay attention to who the artist was. I just thought it looked cool until like I got a little older and I discovered it was Todd McFarlane and George Perez, right, and Mike Zeck. Frank Miller. I just they inspire me to want to keep reading. You know what I mean? We need more people like that. If I was going to go modern, like I said, J. Warren Johnson, Jeff Johns, Jonathan Hickman, but also other people that aren't more modern. I mean, they've been around a while. Mark Millar.
I don't know if you know, but I'm a big Mark Miller fan. This shelf has the entire Miller world on it, except for his most recent ones that are coming out in floppy. And I've literally read every single issue of Miller World that's been released.
And the things he did with
the Ultimate Universe,
Ultimate Universe, the original Ultimate Universe. I mean, the one that always stuck out to me was in the Ultimates when Captain America found out that Hank Pym was beating up Jeff.
Yeah, no shield needed, no suit needed. Just went and found him and took him. Beat the brakes off of that giant man.
Razor want to know how many comics I read in a week. If I'm not behind, I'll read at least 10 or 15, probably, even if it's a back issue or I'll go back and reread. I mean, I love comic books.
I have a week's worth of comics here. I do have a trade paperback up here, but I can count them real quick just to get an idea because I'm roughly the same. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I've got 17 books up here from the previous from a complete week. And it'll be between like 12 to 17, 12 between. I don't think I've really hit 20 unless it's like an anomaly.
Yeah.
But then that means I'm leaving a lot on the shelf and having to go catch up on stories elsewhere. I read a lot of synopsis on stuff that I don't pull.
We got Razor's got a quick. Brother John had said that he said Jim gave it to me at Heroes Con, and I read that Friday night and got it signed the next day. And mailed it to Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
We got Razor's got a question. Mark, how many? You already answered that one though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's just to me, it's like I kind of had a period in my life where I had some medical problems, and like here where I got back into it, and it was kind of a dark period. So comic books brought me out of it. So I won't go into any detail on it, but you know, it's something. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of hokey to say comics saved my life, but you know, they kind of did.
No, that's not crazy at all when you're talking to other people who read comics or in the hobby. Yeah, I've learned a lot from comics. I've learned so many things from comics. Not saying that those lessons weren't present in my life in other ways, but you know, we can be told the same thing from 15 different people, 15 different ways, but it sinks in for the first time for whatever reason you can't explain. And sometimes that's going to be in our situation from reading these books. You know, I remember I learned what willpower was from reading Green Lantern. I had heard of willpower. I understood what willpower was, but I didn't really understand what willpower was as a kid. And like that, I remember that light bulb coming on for me reading Jeff Johns' Rebirth. Like I just felt it in a different way, not like Rebirth from a couple years ago. I'm talking about when they brought Hal Jordan back from being the Spectre when they relaunched Green Lantern with Jeff Johns, and I just. That was something else. I definitely remember that. And I think that's one reason how I mentioned like every day Superman as a character means more and more to me because as like a husband, a father, my job, like all these aspects of my life that I want to be good at, like you just see how like the example that's put before you and like that perfect character, and there's no like, there used to be like a sense of rebelliousness when I was a kid, like, oh, he's the Boy Scout, this and that. And I loved Kingdom Come that Captain Marvel put them paws on him. But as an adult, like I can't tell you how much just like reading or watching Superman stuff like hits me in an emotional way where I want to strive to be better, which I think is kind of the point of those stories.
Yeah, I have a kind of a similar analogy with that. It's kind of like when you're younger and like, I don't know, we're kind of cocky when we're younger,
Yeah.
The world hasn't humbled us yet. So I always enjoyed like the Dark Knight Returns when he whoops Superman's butt. But the more I've grown up, the more I see more about, and it's not just Superman, but Captain America. Like I used to think he was kind of hokey, but when I read The Winter Soldier for the first time, and then you realize I start looking at him I know he's not a real person, but as a role model, because Captain America, like you see in Civil War, even if it's a tough road, it's going to be a tough road to hoe, as we say around here. He's going to do what he thinks is right, regardless of whatever sacrifice has to be made. Superman's the same way. He's going to, like when he fought Doomsday, he knew he might not make it out of this, but he knew he had to stop him, or everybody else was going to be in trouble, be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And because
you haven't been watching Superman and Lois yet, right?
I'm on the third season because I have on Max. I cut the cable on the
cable.
cable.
Yeah, I don't do cable either.
And but also like the thing about like I said about stories like complex stories that probably a person in their early teens or preteens probably shouldn't be reading, like The Watchmen kind of introduced me to what political corruption was, what abuse of power might do.
And now the news just fills us in on it.
yeah. But before the news, we had Alan Moore.
That's a great example of like these books that are as good as we remember, the ones that aren't rose-colored glasses. Like I read a lot of these books as a young person. You know what I mean? Like I took the Long Halloween trade paperback to school with me and read it in between working and stuff at school. And reading stuff like Watchmen or Dark Knight Returns, reading that then versus reading it now, it doesn't slack any enjoyment or like aha moments or anything. You'll get a completely different story out of it if you read it those years apart like that.
Yeah, it's like I had an analogy too of music. When I was younger and a little bit cocky, my favorite Beatle was John Lennon. When I got in my 30s and it was like, oh, sorry, I got more into Paul McCartney, but now that I'm like almost
you're a Ringo guy now, huh?
No, I'm a George Harrison guy now. So I don't know. It's like I guess he's kind of mature. I don't know. It's kind of a weird. Maybe when I'm 80, I'll be a Ringo fan. Ringo's not that bad. Ringo gets a bad rap in my opinion. He was actually not that bad a drummer, and he wrote a little help from my friends, so he can't be all that bad, right? All right. We've kind of discussed some of our favorite characters, but what are some more of your favorite comic book characters of all time?
That's another crazy one. Yeah. I like so many of these characters, and if someone's putting out a good book of them, they're going to be right there where I'm excited about them. Yeah. Like when I get excited about something, man, I love that feeling. I love just to live in the hype of it. But I'm a big Suicide Squad fan. I know it's not a character, but I absolutely love that team. I love the concept of putting together like a hodgepodge team that shouldn't necessarily work out, but you get that crazy dynamic of watching it kind of fall upward till it does. But big Suicide Squad fan. And there's always going to be characters in the past handful of years. I've really gotten into the Charlton characters more than just a little bit. Wolverine and Gambit are my top X-Men characters, despite absolutely despising X-Men comics these days. I mean, I despise X-Men comics.
It doesn't get much better than the Claremont run. I mean, it's going to be hard for anybody to top that, honestly.
And I think the 90s did a good job putting out X-Men comics. Yeah. I think that the House of M storyline was good. It was good for a little while after that. Like, I read a lot of X-Men books over. I mean, like there's like a chunk of the timeline that I read a good bit of X-Men stuff, but just can't get into the new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading the new ones. They're all right, but it's not like if you're going to expecting it's going to be like the glory days.
No,
it's not. But
It's hard to do that. Every now and then you get something that pops, like when Philip Kennedy Johnson took over the Superman stuff after Bendis and literally saved Superman. It was legendary. Absolutely legendary run. It's cool watching like a modern writer lay down a run that as you're reading it, you're thinking to yourself, this is going in the Hall of Fame. This will be a story that 20 years from now, people will tell you to go read. And that was definitely a fun experience. I love me some Swamp Thing. Pretty much the Justice League Dark characters are always a blast. Mainly Swamp Thing and Etrigan the Demon. I really like Etrigan. The New Gods always like the Kirby stuff from the 70s, all that stuff. Like I love the Fourth World stuff. I love the lore. I like stuff with like deep lore like that. When you get into New Genesis Apocalypse with the New Gods and all that's a blast. But I don't know.
One of my favorite Kirby characters of all time, I think, is probably one of your favorites too, is Mr. Miracle.
Mr. Miracle's cool. I'll put this slab up. I had that slab behind me for a while. When I did that video for DC, I had to hide any other company, so I put two DC slabs there just to cover the Miller World stuff.
Well, what I liked about that story though was like, there was like a lot of complexity in it. I mean, I think Kirby gave it a lot of thought because he had like, if everybody probably already knows the lore, but like Mr. Miracle, his father is the High Father.
His High Father, and then
Orion over on New Gods, and they switched children
to broker a peace agreement.
For a peace agreement, and like Mr. Miracle had a hard time. He was in the X pit. Had to deal with Granny Goodness, who's not a very good granny.
No, maybe the worst granny ever.
Yeah, of all time. I always loved that Ed Asner did the voice for her on the animated show.
Did you ever read the 12-issue miniseries? Well, I guess it's a maxi series that Tom King did, Mr. Miracle.
Yes, oh my
God. He's escaped from everything. There's only one thing left to escape from. Can he escape from death? It was wild. That new Ghost Machine book, Hornsby and Halo, that's pretty much all this is Mr. Miracle. You have a little angel and a little demon given to opposite sides to raise the kind of broker a peace in wartime kind of thing. Yeah, I'm with you, comics.
Yeah, talk about a great Claremont documentary on Tubi right now. I've seen that documentary. It's actually not bad. I learned a lot about that. I didn't know that his family immigrated here. He wasn't born in, but I mean, he's an American now, but he, it's cool hearing the backstories. I like hearing about the old stories about the Marvel or DC bullpens back in the day, and stuff like that. And okay, well, this is kind of off. This is a non-comic book related question, I guess. What do you collect besides comic books? Anything?
Movies, toys.
I know you like the steel books, DVDs and stuff. You like to get the physical media, don't you?
Mm-hmm. And I collect. I'm a big fan of movies since I was a kid. Like how I told you, like seeing Alex Ross's artwork for the first time really made those characters come to life. When I was a kid, we didn't have as many characters brought to life, but there were certain franchises that I just absolutely loved: Alien, Terminator, RoboCop, Predator, all that stuff. Those existing universes that before we had movie universes for superhero stuff. And I always like the movie toys of those things. I've never grown out of that. So I've got like whenever the DC multiverse figures do a movie line, I get the entire wave. I've got like all the Avatar toys, RoboCop figures, all this stuff is all around me on the other side of my camera. I get all the vehicles from the movies and stuff. I love movie stuff. Like there's Batman from the Flash movie on the motorcycle, Aquaman on the seahorse from the Aquaman movie.
Yeah, I do that. I've been a big movie fan my whole life too. I remember just adoring like John Carpenter movies, like Big Trouble in Little China and The Thing.
Oh, Jack Burton.
Yeah,
Pork Chop Express.
Yeah, the chicks. It says chicks in the mail. It's all in the reflexes. But yeah, and Escape from New York. I just thought that was brilliant. I watched it so many times. I broke the tape. I remember watching Star Wars as a child, and the part where Darth Vader comes out into the rebel ship. When they take it in the tractor beam at the first of the movie, and they clear a path, and he walks through. I would hide behind the couch and pretend I was one of the guys trying to hide from him. And I go around. I've annoyed my friends for years quoting like movies like Pulp Fiction and The Departed.
The Departed's a good movie.
Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about?
He felt funny.
Yeah, it felt funny. And the funny thing about that was that Nicholson like ad libbed that part.
I believe it.
Okay, what is one of your most prized possessions in your collection of comics?
No comment.
Okay,
I'll just say the first appearance of the Suicide Squad.
all right, we'll leave it at that.
Really, it's that or Hulk 181. I've
What
got like better Hulk books than 181, but that one just has a great story with. I got like Hulk 2 and 3 and 5 and 2, 3. I've almost got all of the 6 original. I'm trying to finish my Hulk run. I'm down just to like minuscule numbers to complete it. There's no big books left to complete in my Hulk run other than issue 1. But 181 was a fantastic story. So got to preface this with I don't spend change. Like I got like this change jar here. I roll my own coins. When that gets full, I roll them. You can get free coin rolls from your bank. I got like my car handle has change in it. When it gets full, I move it to the holder. When that gets full, it gets rolled. And I've done that for a long time. And I've wanted a Hulk 181 for a long time. And I'm not in a rush to complete my Hulk collection, but like I'd rather get it in person kind of thing. And there's some great resources here in Augusta. We've got multiple comic shops and stuff like that. And one came into a store called Dead Media that's here local. And when it was here, the owner messaged me because he knew I was looking for it, and I was at work. So it took a couple of hours for me to see his message. And when I messaged him back, he's like, "Hey, I messaged you, and after you didn't return my call, I went ahead and messaged one other person who's on the way to come look at it. If they don't want it, I'll call you and go from there." He messaged me back not long after that and said the person ended up buying it. So I missed out on it. And then not long later, he messages me again. And like a few weeks, it wasn't long at all. A few weeks later, messages me again and says another one was on the way to the store. Someone's coming with it and he'll keep me posted. The person ended up not parting with it. And then ABX, Paul, he was going through some of his stuff and he sent in a couple books that he found in his closet just to get graded that he was going to sell. And one of them was Hulk 181. And I told him I wanted it. And I came home to the house. I grabbed all the change. I took it to the bank and turned it into paper money, asked to not take 500 pounds of change to my good friend who owns LCS. I took him cash and I handed it to him and got the book. So I literally bought Hulk 181 with change. So that's probably like the biggest.
Yeah, that's that's a good story. I like that.
Anything can happen,
Yeah. I'll follow up on that question. A follow up to that one is, are you currently still? What runs are you? I know you mentioned a few, but are you working on it now? I'm working on. Before you answer, I'm working on trying to get all of Captain America Volume 1 right
Volume
now.
1?
Yeah.
Like Golden Age?
No, I meant the 100 to what now is what I meant. Like
so Captain America, yeah. I don't know what volume. Would they call that Volume 1?
I don't know what they call that, but no, I can't afford that.
Can't be Volume 1. I was about to say, like with Green Lantern, like when people say Green Lantern Volume 1, I'm like, Alan Scott, because that's
You're
Green Lantern Volume 2 starts with Hal Jordan. You know, I was about to say, man, that's.
I wasn't thinking about that, but yeah, if I was to do that, I'd have to go to the crossroads and make a deal with the devil.
Are you doing Tales of Suspense?
No.
Isn't he in Tales of Suspense?
Oh yeah, but I'm not going to do that one either.
So when I was collecting the Hulk run, Incredible Hulk enters Tales to Astonish at issue 59, and he's in every issue all the way up until it ends in issue 101, and then they just changed the title to Incredible Hulk that starts at 102. Very similar to Captain America. That's why it starts at number 100 because it was previously Tales of Suspense, and that's because Marvel was renting newsstand space from DC, and to get more titles out for less money, they doubled them up in those books. But I collect. I'm a completionist with the Hulk thing, and I've got all 59 to 101 already, and I'm even back collecting Tales to Astonish because those are some great monster issues, and you get the first Hank Pym and first Giant Man and first Groot and a bunch of cool monsters. Great creators on those as well, but. Runs that I'm actively working on is Hulk and Tales to Astonish with no rush. I pick up a few issues when I go out to little shows or this or that. And then I just finished Transformers Volume 1 a couple weeks ago when I picked up that first Galactus. I was able to pick up the last 3 issues of that. So outside of that I'm actively picking up, I think those are the only back issue ones. I'm gonna have to pull something else up on the list because like the CLZ app, how people keep up with their books and that. I gave up on doing that. It was too much work. I just remember it kind of thing. I guess I got that from my dad, just a little old school with it. But I will, if I'm actively trying to, I'm going to the show, I'm going to Heroes and I know I want to look for some Hulks or Transformers, I'll keep Hulk and Transformers up to date. And now that I finished it, I'll probably never look at the Transformers list in there again. But I'll find something else that I'm trying to actively do. I was thinking about doing G.I. Joe after I did Transformers because I started that Transformers right before Daniel Warren Johnson was announced as the Transformer creator coming on. So I'm like, oh God, this is terrible timing. And I kind of rushed and was able to get a large amount of them from a local shop for a killer price. So that helped me. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people have fun doing it. Some people say I have fun sitting, bagging and boarding. Me, they'd be great if they were already bagged and boarded. I got plenty of other stuff to do than scan books into CLZ or, I got little kids still.
You know what I tell people that say that? I say, well, maybe you can come over and bag and board some for me.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, yeah, I'm working.
I'm actively trying to, man, I don't think there's any, now that you mentioned it, I haven't thought about that since I finished Transformers, man. Because I'm one of those people, how I said, I like all these Marvel characters, all these DC characters, and I'm an opportunistic shopper. I will not overpay for nothing. And I don't care what it is. I'm not paying you 1 penny over FMV. You'd have to probably hold a gun to my head to get me to pay fair market value. I ain't doing it. There's too many good deals out there. I love haggling. I love bartering with people. There's people in this chat that have been with me in shows and stuff. It's what I do. And so I go out and I just go and I look at what's there for the right price, and then I'm going to beat you down on it, and I'm coming home with that.
Well, maybe I need to, if I go to Heroes, I need to beat up you so you can help me with this G.I. Joe run I'm working on.
Yeah, I got number 1, and I've got number 21, the silent issue, Storm Shadows for Experience. And those are the only ones that I've gotten so far. I'm kind of wondering if I even want to try to tackle it. G.I. Joe's popping off. I collect all the Energon stuff. I love Transformers, weirdly enough, because of the Michael Bay movies, not because of the OG stuff. I understand I'm an outlier with that, but I love the Michael Bay Transformers stuff. Big fan.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. They were entertaining when they came out. I still enjoy if it's on TBS,
I'll rewatch the hell out of them, dude. I've got them. When we bought our 4K TV and setup and everything, I bought Transformers the last night, and that was my let's see what this TV can do experience. It was, man, it was awesome.
And I don't know. The thing I've ran into with G.I. Joe is, and I'm sure Spawn collectors can feel my pain.
Low volume issues.
Yeah, low print runs at the end of it. 130 to 155. It's tough to get.
By chance, are you coming to Heroes Con?
Yes, I am.
They'll be there. All of them will be there. Probably every copy that was printed will be at Heroes Con.
And now you've unlocked a new thing. I'm going to have to go get the Tales of Suspense now.
Yeah, dude. Why? You know what I'm saying? That's his continued story. It's all canon. It's continuity. Yeah, that's it. You need it. You got to have it. Find out what his first issue was, and just go from there. And then if you feel the need to, just go back from there. A lot of people that do Hulk only get 59 to 101, but it's his origin retold, fighting with Giant Man. Then they bring in Namor into the comic at that point. You get your first Silver Age Namor stuff in there, and it's a good run to collect. First Abomination, first cover appearance Abomination, first appearance of the Leader. All that's in that Tales Hulk stuff. That's prime Hulk real estate. All in Tales to Astonish. Got to have it.
Yeah, and I just, some of it I try to limit because of my wallet. Uncanny X-Men, I'm trying to just stick to the 80s up to when Jim Lee, when he left Image.
Well, my thing is I have no limit. I have no limit at all. It's the wide net theory. If I have a wide net, I'm liable to score things for a better deal, which is better for my wallet. If there's a lot of stuff I would be happy to have, Like I want these Cap books, but I also want these Tales books, and
Yeah.
I like these X-Men stuff. If I'm not narrowing my search, there's a better chance of me finding a deal. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like I'm just saying, oh, I'm going to collect everything. This is stuff I legitimately like. Like I legitimately want this stuff, but I don't try to stay too hyper focused. I'm trying to complete Hulk. I'm trying to complete Transformers, but a lot of times I'd go places and come home with anything but Hulk or Transformers. Because if people don't have it for a price that isn't a deal, you ain't getting me. I'm not the guy. I'm not the one.
And some of these runs are like a rabbit hole. You're going to go down like Batman. You're going to be paying out the ass.
See, that's where I have like a weird difference than a lot of other people that we know on the platform. I'm a second generation collector. So like I'm not actively sitting here trying to complete a run that's sitting down the street that I can just go pull and read or whatever I want. That I hate to be grim, but it's really fun to be grim, especially if he's watching. I'm going to inherit this stuff one day. Whether I want it or not at that point, people don't live forever. And if my plan goes accordingly, I will outlive my father. But you know what I'm saying? Why would I want to integrate? So there's even a lot of stuff that I have in my comic room out back that me and Pops were talking about that I'm going to be pulling everything behind a certain year and just posting it over on Pop's attic just to clear up space. We've got the attic at his house, an entire room at his house, and beyond we have this room I'm sitting in, a comic room out there, and beyond. Like there's a lot of comics when you've been going from 1964, then you have a son that gets into the hobby too. It's not even realistic, it's not like we're keeping them in a warehouse. We're with them.
I bet your dad has a very awesome collection.
Yeah. Well, he also in the early 80s, and this is going to blow a lot of people's hearts out, but in the early 80s, he sold his Marvel Comics collection and a good bit of this DC stuff, but he sold his entire Marvel Comics collection, which he'd been collecting nonstop since the 60s.
Oh, wow.
1960s, like we're talking like the stuff now that you can buy a house with. But he sold all of it. He bought a house, a couple acres of land, and a vehicle. And that's with the prices that you could get in the 80s, which isn't nearly what they are now, not even comparable. And that's a big way of how the comic shop here started, the one that I grew up in. It used to be like a paperback bookstore where you buy, sell, and trade paperback bookstores. And he offloaded the comics to the owner there, and they sold well. And then they got into comics and stuff. And then they did paperback books, gaming, comics, and all that. But that's why I'm so associated with the comic shop without actually working there. It's just been a part of my family since before I was born. But because he sold all those, there's a lot of those that he doesn't have now. He recollected a lot of the stuff he sold just in DC Archives or Marvel Masterworks that they used to do those hardback editions. So he has pretty much everything that you can go and read, but not a lot of stuff in floppies like he used to have. But he still has a disgusting collection of floppies all the same.
Hey, do we have any questions from the chat for Mark?
I can tell flat earth those last 3 Transformers I got, they were not cheap. And that's one thing that stopped me from getting them. It was literally the last 3 of the run, 78, 79, and 80. And people that I'm running into wanting like $60, $70 for them. I wasn't doing it. But I found all 3 of them, paired some stuff with it, and threw in the first appearance of Galactus. And by the end of bartering with them, the total on my stuff, I didn't even pay for them. They're pretty much thrown in for free at that point.
Well, it's always fun when you can get the hobby to pay for itself. I remember a few months ago, I found a lot for it's like $50 or something. It might have been less than that, about $40 on Marketplace. About 30 miles from me, or 30 minutes from my house. And the guy I met with, it had 5 copies of Seduction of the Innocent issue 1, the Dave Stevens cover, with the 3D glasses. I said, "Are you sure?" I didn't want to rip them. I said, "This right here." He goes, "I don't care. I just want rid of them. My wife don't want all these comics in the house." So I said, "Okay." I gladly paid him $40, and I kept one, sold 4 of them, and was able to get Captain America issue 111.
Nice.
Out of it. So, Okay. We got a question for you from Aaron.
Mark, what was the very first comic you ever read? Was it Kingdom Come? No, definitely not Kingdom Come. I don't know what the first comic I ever read was. talking earlier in the stream, they're just always around. It's kind of like you remember your first pair of shoes. You don't
Yeah.
you just can't remember a time where your parents didn't have shoes for you. They're just always comics around. First time I read Kingdom Come, I was in 3rd grade, and I'd been my mom's a teacher, so I was reading before, like not like fluently reading adult books, but I was reading well at the age of like 4 and 5 already, and I was happily flipping through comic books even before then, but wanting to know how to read even more because I wanted to know what was going on in them. I can't tell you what the first book I ever read was. I can't even tell you what the first comic I ever had was. They were just always in my room.
Here's a good question.
How did I come up with the name of my channel? I love DC Comics. I love mythology, and DC Comics are modern day American mythology. And I wanted something that kind of rang with that. And you have the Legion of Superheroes and you have the Legion of Doom. So whichever way you want to look at it, Legion of Comics sounded good for me. And the whole idea behind wanting to do like my channel, I wanted to be like focused on community, a place where we can come and talk and argue and do all these things about comics. You know, I wasn't coming here to educate people. I wasn't coming here to entertain people. I'm coming here to have fun with the hobby and find people that have fun with it too. So like the Legion has that kind of community built into the name with it. So it just seemed like a good one. I didn't know mine either until what is that? Let me look up here. Until I read the first 20 years of ASM and had an eerie feeling that I've been at 166 before. I was about 6 years old. Nice. Yeah, I don't think I've had that experience yet. That's pretty cool though. Like, wait a minute, I've read this before.
I can't remember the first comic I ever read, but I do remember the one that sticks out in my mind. The first one was there was a G.I. Joe. There was a run where Ripcord parachutes on the Cobra Island because somebody had kidnapped his girlfriend, right? And he's trying to find answers because he thinks Cobra did it. And Zartan is stalking him with his bow and arrow, and he shoots at him with the bow and arrow, and it just grazes his head but knocks him out, right? And he assumes his eye. I know, because of comics, right?
Yeah, because comics. So
yeah, Mike Zeck did the artwork for the interior and the cover. I think he did the interior, but of course, Larry Hama did the writing. But then he assumes his identity, and then in issue 48, he infiltrates the pit, G.I. Joe's base. I even know, so he gets in there and like he's wreaking havoc, and it was the first appearance of Sergeant Slaughter, and Sergeant Slaughter was saved the day, right? And I've read that book until it was dog-eared, had creases on it, and put it in my backpack because back then I didn't bags and boards.
That's what you did. That's what you did with them. You roll them up, put them in your back pocket, do whatever.
And but I still have those comics, and I love them. I have some upgraded some for my collection, of course.
Well, I got a quick question for you, Matt. Which movie do you prefer, G.I. Joe or G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra or G.I. Joe Retaliation?
If I had to pick one of them,
which one do you enjoy more today? Because I know like with comics, movies can change based on your mood or how long it's been since you've seen something or something. But if you had to pick one, just not which one is better, do you like more? If you had to put one in the Blu-ray player right now to watch tonight, which one would you watch tonight?
Probably Retaliation. But the Rise of Cobra, to me, what I didn't like about it was just no. They had those mech suit things. I thought that was kind of stupid.
The accelerator suits. Those were awesome. I thought that was a direct response to Transformers as well, because you even have the slow-mo scene where they're jumping over the rockets coming at him and stuff and diving through the cars.
One other gripe though was like you barely see Flint or any of those guys, or Shipwreck or no. I was hoping when I saw Rise of Cobra or any of them, I thought I was going to get to see Shipwreck and Grunt and all, but I was obsessed with G.I. Joe. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't really care for either one of their takes on G.I. Joe, to be honest with you. But
oh wow, I didn't like either one of them.
I'm kind of
the first one was a direct victim of the writing strike. That was one that was affected by that writing strike in there.
I prefer him as a rhyming demon. I
like Etrigan as a rhyming demon or a not rhyming dialogue. Most definitely rhyming. Like 100% of the time, I prefer him rhyming, but not like comical. I mean, like where it's not even always like spot on. Even like the
something.
That 1984 4-issue limited series where they separated Etrigan from Jason altogether, and that demon, that's the one where he's because it limits him on his dialogue. Like you don't need him silent, but you don't need him like he's a demon from Camelot. Well, from hell, but
Well, it was the one thing I will say with the G.I. Joe. It was good seeing him on live action, but I wish they could do it on a. I don't know, that whole thing with Baroness. I just didn't like it. But if we talk about that, I'll be here for an hour. Another hour.
I think they did really cool stuff with the second one. But the first one, I remember when I first saw it, the Rise of Cobra one at the theater. I was like, man, that just felt a little off. Something felt weird about it.
Yeah.
I'm not a G.I. Joe guy. I watched G.I. Joe, the movie, growing up, had the VHS, watched that countless times, where Cobra Commander gets turned into the actual snake and Cobra Law and all that stuff. But Etrigan, thank you. Yeah, he has to rhyme. Yeah, it has to rhyme. But the movie still felt a little off. I did love Ray Park's Snake Eyes. I love the molded face where you could actually see the mouth mold on it. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's lame. I thought that was cool. I thought that was super cool. But I don't know. They're guilty pleasures for me because I'm not. I was born in the 80s, but I wasn't like a diehard Gen 1 G.I. Joe or Transformers guy. So I love, like I said, I love the Michael Bay stuff. I'm sorry, DVH. He's in the chat. That's my eternal nemesis when it comes to Michael Bay Transformers movies. But I'm not held back by that stuff.
We was talking about the CW Superman.
You'll get me crying on here.
I saw some of this season, but not all of it. I mean, just because you see clips on like YouTube.
Don't do it. Just avoid them at all costs.
Yeah, I saw the one we talked about. I think you talked about it one day on your show. I wasn't on your show, but I was in the chat about where the guy comes there with the gun.
Oh God, episode 7. Oh
yeah.
My God, yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it because I'm in the part I'm in at. I really love the family dynamic and everything. It's like you can tell this family's close, and the only thing Superman really wants is for his family to be left alone and be able to protect them. That's
He wants them to be happy, healthy, and successful, like anybody wants for their family. Yeah. That show is the embodiment of everything that a Superman story should be. It's in the sector. We were talking, and he pointed out, like, once again, it's the story of the man that shines the brightest, which really makes you realize how super he really is. But it just knocks everything out of the park. Everything that anyone, whether you read Superman stuff or not, who Superman is. What this character represents for the entire world, for the society. Since before we were born, this guy has been bigger than any one of us, than any writer, than any director. And this show takes the best of everything he's ever been, and then they put it together flawlessly and present it to you. And that show I have never in my life seen a season finale like that. I don't think I ever will again for my lifetime. Just don't think it can be done.
Yeah. And my favorite Superman is it's when like a Superman, he's like an older Superman. He's been through a lot of battles. He saved the world countless times, and he's got some experience. He's made mistakes, but he's worked through them. And like it's the same thing with that's why I like The Dark Knight Returns. You get to see Bruce Wayne, an older Bruce Wayne, who's been through this before. He might actually, you could argue that Frank Miller's, well, you don't have to argue. He's more brutal than the younger.
Mm-hmm.
He's not as idealistic as the younger Bruce Wayne.
He's jaded. Frank Miller's Bruce Wayne is very jaded.
He will pick up a gun. He don't care.
Yeah, and with the Superman and Lois show, it's definitely like the closest thing we've ever seen to an old man Clark kind of story, because he does have 2 kids that are older. They're twins, and the show does a lot of things unique. Like any kind of thing that Superman fans go into the show knowing about Superman, whether you've seen it in a movie before, whether you've read it in a comic, you're familiar with it from the cartoons or anything, they manage to package it in a way that's unique to this show. We know from the comics that Superman and Lois have Jonathan. Well, in this show, they had twins. And you think, well, why do we need twins? Well, then you watch the show, and by the end of season 1, you're like, yo, the twins are like the best part of this show.
Yeah.
And like they switch up the focus of stories and stuff through the seasons, but they win you over with the twins right off the bat. And then villains, his rogues gallery has been around for decades and been done in different medias and formats numerous times over, but they repackage every single one of them, paying absolute tribute and honoring the source material while still being able to surprise you with reveals, aha moments, the actual story arcs for these characters. It is insane the level of care that these writers took in crafting this. Superman is the hardest comic character there is to write, and whoever these showrunners were, it's almost like they grew up with this guy, not reading him. It's like they grew up in the house with him. They know this character in an intimate way that I haven't seen written before. And I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Christopher Reeve is Superman. Everyone else just plays Superman. As of this morning, Tyler is Superman with Christopher Reeve. Like, dude, I never in my lifetime thought, and I've said it before, everyone who plays Superman is just trying to be the second best Superman. No, we got him. Like, Tyler is Superman. I feel sorry for James Gunn. I feel so sorry for James Gunn. He's got big boots to fill. I was joking this morning that, James Gunn announced Superman Legacy as the title of his movie. He must have read the script for this finale and then immediately dropped Legacy off of it, because this show is Superman's legacy. This is it.
Oh, Dr. Von Hoot said, "I've made my peace with your love of Bayformers."
Appreciate that. I don't like the more recent Superman. What is that? Appearances in movies for reasons Mark expressed. Not that anyone needs to agree. Yo, dude, I'm a huge Snyderverse fan, and I 1,000% understand why a lot of people do not care for Zack Snyder's take on Superman. Everything that I said and described about what's good with Superman Lois is the polar opposite of what Zack Snyder does with Superman. Yeah. He has a different way of going about trying to tell a story to get to these same ideals and these same concepts. And it took 3 movies where you don't even get a sense of these ideals and these concepts until the Snyder cut, when he's putting on the black suit for the first time and you're listening to the overlay of Jor-El and Jonathan talking to him, where it all comes together. But those lessons were spread out in small scenes over Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, where on their own, it's like, yo, this isn't the ideals of Superman, but it wasn't meant to be by itself. It was like he was thinking too big for it to work without the whole thing. But I completely get it.
Well, yeah, like I thought that Henry Cavill was a brilliant casting as Superman, but my only gripe was they tried to mesh all these big story arcs from the comics into these like 3 movies all at once. They tried to throw Doomsday in there, with the death of Superman and all that, then his resurrection. And they tried to throw it in with Justice League movie when
they did the Dark Knight. They did the Dark Knight Returns and Superman 75 in the same movie. Yeah,
it was like Batman versus Superman didn't know what movie it wanted to be.
But dude, I think, dude, I like it. I like it. I'm not gonna lie. Movie. I think the Batman v Superman is damn near a comic book movie masterpiece. If you watch the extended cut,
yes,
I'm a Zack Snyder diehard fan, and it feels like. It's not even safe to say that in comment sections anymore, because like the Snyder bot fans, like the Snyder bros, it's become toxic to a level where there's no critical thinking. It's like Snyder and burn everything else. Like, dude, like 2 things can be good simultaneously. It's kind of like you don't have to like DC or Marvel. Like, I love the Snyderverse stuff. I absolutely love it. But I'm also excited for what's coming next. And I think that Tyler is far superior in every single metric when it comes to Snyder Superman. Not even close.
I tend to agree with you. I'm not done with the series yet, but
just wait.
I just wish that they had been a little different with the way Cavill. I thought he had the right look for it.
Yeah, he's got the look. He's got the build. He's got
he doesn't have control over the dialogue.
It was a different take on it. It was a loner Superman. Like we didn't watch him origin. We didn't watch him grow up on the farm. So we just got to like the rambling years of Superman, where he's like, he was born a rambling man. There ain't nothing wrong with that. And this, like, people say we don't need an origin. So take the origin and, we got a couple flashbacks in there with him with his X-ray vision activating at school, him saving Pete on the bus that was sinking in the river and all that stuff. We got some of that stuff. We got his father. I like the idea of his dad trying to protect his secret identity so much to protect him, willing to sacrifice his own life to save his son. I know that went over so many people's heads. They're like, why wouldn't he save his dad? Why wouldn't he? Like, bro, they say it in the movie. Like, it's literally the dialogue while he's talking to Lois. Like, my dad believes so much in keeping my identity secret and keeping me safe that he sacrificed himself. Like, he couldn't do both. There wasn't doing both. Jonathan standing there, people are watching Jonathan. You can't just magically make Jonathan disappear. Like, you'd be outed. Yeah, it's the only way to watch it to make it make sense. The fact that, like, you don't even really see the things that Lex orchestrates to make their rivalry make sense without the extended cut. The attacks in the prison, the people who were branded by him.
I tell everybody to listen. If you want that movie to like be better, you need to watch that extended cut version because it makes way more sense. Same thing with the Justice League Snyder cut, because what they did with that one was, obviously there was a tragedy in Scott Snyder's family he had to deal with. He had to step away.
Yeah, Autumn passed away.
Yeah, his daughter lost his daughter, which is heartbreaking. And then they put in Whedon, and from all reports, Whedon did not get along at all with that cast.
Mm-hmm. And that's couldn't be more apparent. Ray Fisher, the actor who played Cyborg, was very vocal about how terrible and toxic that set got once Whedon got there, and how they clashed. And you watch the theatrical cut, and Cyborg's pretty much not in the movie. You watch the Snyder cut, which is a freaking 10 out of 10 film, and you see how Cyborg is literally the heart of that movie. Like, he's the heart and soul of that movie. But oh my God, I love that movie.
And like my argument with that Batman vs Superman, how can you not get? I got literal goosebumps when he's about to kill Superman, and he says, "Save Martha."
Mm-hmm. And I like how everyone was like internet geniuses after the fact. But dude, I've grown up with comics. I've read Batman and Superman comics my entire life. I've known her name is Martha Kent. I've known her name is Martha Wayne. Neither one of those characters, well, Martha Kent more than Martha Wayne, were big primary characters in stories, save for like Flashpoint. You know what I mean? Like their origin death stories for the most part. But I never really thought about like the world's finest hat. Their moms have the same names. Like, no one's ever sat around and discussed that. And he'd be like, "Yo, hey, look what's been right in front of y'all." And I remember I'm like, Martha. Oh shit!
Yeah, that's why I was like, "Oh, shit.
They're both Martha." I was there, dude. I'm like, what?
I got mad because people would gripe about Batman don't kill people. I'm like, old Batman does kill people because have you not read The Dark Knight Returns?
Not read Detective Comics 2070.
And
kills Arthur Fleck in his first appearance. I know that's kind of a cop out too.
I'm sorry, they're hating on Affleck, but he goes into that warehouse and just destroys these dudes.
Yeah, watching Batman fight like that, where his punches had some stank behind him and people flying, and
it wasn't.
It was wicked.
Front kick.
Yeah. And when he's grappling the guy, like slaying him into the wall, it was wild. But also, don't forget when he like just mows everyone down. The first time we see the Batmobile in action in the chase scene with the semi truck, he was wrecking people. Yeah. He killed one guy with the tire of the Batmobile flying through the air. Like, it was
the part that was
wicked.
Right out of Dark Knight Returns, where he's got the gun on the guy with the flamethrower. He says, "I'll kill her."
I believe you.
He says, I know. Pow.
Yeah, he says, "I believe you." Boom. And dude, even when they were fighting Doomsday, they recreated the cover for issue number 1 when he was grappling around trying to stay away from Doomsday. He hits the building and shoots a grappling gun. The lightning strikes behind him for that split second.
Yeah, it was dope.
Yeah, Batman killed some people, let some people die. And there's books that you can find in modern times, because I know like going back to the Golden Age could be considered a cop out, that stuff was kind of built in. These characters change over time, and they get defined differently depending on who's writing them. But they've hardlined that no kill rule. But you can still find times and issues where Batman, like this girl kidnapped in a helicopter, he jumps in a helicopter, punches the guy flying the helicopter, and grapplings the girl out, and it crashes and explodes in the background. We're like, yo, there was a pilot in that.
Oh yeah.
Like, the pilot didn't get out. You just took the girl out.
Yeah, he obviously had to make the hard decision. Yeah.
Yeah, and even let's be honest here too. Batman Begins, why wasn't anyone mad when Ra's al Ghul's like, you won't kill me. He's like, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. Yo, dude, you just killed that man. You just killed that man. You
killed him by
disabled the
your
train.
inaction. Exactly.
You disabled the train. You had the tracks blown up, and you just blew the front out of the train to get out. You just killed that man. That would hold up in court by anybody. You caused the train.
Absolutely.
You killed that man. Like, just that simple. And even with Superman, like people were upset about the Zod snap,
He gave him no choice.
Has anybody ever seen that? It was a really good movie. It was like in 1970. Was it in 79? I need people in the chat to help. It was this movie called Superman 2 with Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
He fought Zod. You know how he stopped Zod in that movie? He killed him.
Yep.
He depowered him and threw him down into like the Fortress of Solitude hole. That's like falling in the cracks of an avalanche.
Superpowers, you're getting hypothermia down there quick. You're going to smother.
He died from the fall.
Yeah.
He had come on.
If he did die from the fall, he suffocated in the snow or died of hypothermia.
Yeah, he killed Zod in Superman 2. He killed Zod in Man of Steel. He killed Doomsday and Batman v Superman has put people down. Batman has put people down.
And like, if people would paid attention when he kills Zod in Man of Steel, he didn't want to do it. It was like, don't make me do this.
Yeah, it was almost like that was the moment where he learns the importance of his no-kill rule. And also that was like killing his entire world all over again for him, And
not to mention all the collateral damage, buildings dropping on people. Of course, people died.
Yeah, that was the first time that we really saw the scale and scope of what a superhero fight looks like in a city. That's crazy. Yeah. Hey, there's Pop.
Yeah, there's Pop in the chat. Thanks for stopping by, Pop. Well, I guess I don't want to keep you all night, so I guess I'll do my outro and I'll talk to you after backstage for a second, and I'll let you go.
Sounds good.
But guys, thanks for coming out again. Let me pull myself up here and I'll make it make my announcement again. We got 200 subscribers coming up soon. If you help me get to 200, I appreciate it. When we get to 200, I'm giving away Red Room 1 and 2. Next time you go to church, when you go to the offering plate, tell the pastor, subscribe to Heroes for Hire Comic Club channel. If you get arrested and they're putting the handcuffs on, you tell the arresting officer, tell the judge when you go to court, subscribe to Heroes for Hire Comic Club channel. If you're getting a prostate exam, and after you're done, look at the doctor and go, Doc, would you please sub up Heroes for Hire Comic Club channel? Anybody on the street, I don't care. But anyway, I had fun talking to Mark. Thanks to my guest. Like I said, I'll be giving those away. Stay tuned next week. My guest will be Rob's Fat Stacks of Comics. And that should be a fun conversation. And I have a claim sale Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, $2 claims. And I'll have some other stuff that's not $2. And until next time, true believers, Excelsior.